Okay, we are live.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi
everyone.
there.
Hi.
Everyone,
Okay.
how are you?
I think we're live. Yes. Oh, I think we're live on multiple
Yep,
pages. Like, great.
you can definitely see
Okay.
our lives.
Okay. I think we're live on one, two, three, four, 8 pages. So, okay. This this is something
Wow,
that we
that's a lot.
yeah, like there's a lot of live streams or pages that shares the live streams, but like glad to see every one of you here. Like like it's been a while, like since we've had in-person meetups, especially in-person meetups, and like we've been hosting a lot of webinars from like from Q1 and Q2. So like it's great to see you guys now, like in one piece, at least digitally. So
Yep.
to yeah, please not to give our audience some context. What are we trying to do here, or who are we? Like like, as a speakers. Like maybe we can start off with the why. First off, like this is a fireside chat, so in this conversation, we hope like to at least talk about our life, talk about our experiences as a Flutter developer or as a student who's trying to learn Flutter, and as part of the community that tries to evangelize Flutter to the tech community and to companies that are willing to shift or are already using Flutter. So to start, maybe Sir Johnny, then we can go from Sir Johnny to Harvey to Zonily the next. Okay, Sir Johnny.
Okay.
So, hi guys, how are you doing? My name is Joni. I'm a Flutter developer for Boozy.ph. Yes, I sell booze. Just kidding. Yeah, well, basically, I'm a mobile developer for the Boozy.ph app. That's during the day, during the night, I am an artist. Yeah. Doing some digital art lately, just to combat the being inside the house 24/7.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. Cool, cool. Yeah.
Wow,
Well, that.
great.
Well, yeah. That's me. Oh wait. Uh,
Okay,
go
now
to
to Harvey.
Harvey.
Like
Yeah,
yeah, this one.
so hi everyone. Yeah, so my name is Harvey, right? You could call me Harvey or Hart for short. I think to remember my name, just remember the Miss Universe, Steve Harvey. Just remove Steve. I'm just Harvey for tonight. So welcome again to our fireside chat with Flutter community, for Philippines community rather. And to introduce myself, I am hashtag grad waiting. So I'm just waiting if I pass all my subjects because I am a graduating student from the Ateneo de Manila University. And actually, I've been starting, coding 2 to 3 years ago. Starting sophomore, actually, starting freshman year, I've been starting coding, right? And then it was a year or almost 1.5 year ago, I met Joshua, where I started to learn Flutter. It's been recently that I've been learning Flutter, and I don't have that kind of Sir Joni na in the morning developer, then in the evening artist. I'm a workaholic at heart. So the moment I wake up, well, I play first. So I play games to rejuvenate. Then uh, until the evening, I work for a startup that I'm building called Teemly.
Mm,
Yeah, and I hope that's quick, and I can share more of my Flutter experience later on in this discussion.
Okay, cool.
Great. Thanks, Harvey. Okay, Z.
Steve Harvey.
Oh, hi
Steve
guys.
Harvey.
Uh,
Hey, easy.
so from Harvey now, I'm Z. So my name is Zonily Jame, but a lot of people prefer to call me Z because they somehow find it hard to pronounce my name. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, my name is Zonily Jame. If you don't know. So I actually work for an outsourcing company called Stratpoint, and my current work is more on uh, creating an application for one of our clients called Globe Telecom. So I'm one of the leads of this project, but I can't say which app it is, but it's one of the leading platforms out there. And so, like Joni, I also have some kind of routine. So by day or more by weekdays, I work a lot, evening, morning, and some other stuff in between. And then by the weekends, I stream games on my Nintendo Switch. So that's what I do to reduce stress. And other than that, I like building up stuff on my PCs and build Gundams. Gun Plus are nice. Yeah,
Nice.
that's me. So on
Okay.
to the next one. Next.
Next.
Thank
Wait,
you.
wait.
You're next.
So hi everyone. My name's Anike Nicole, but most people call me Nix. It seems like I'm the only one who isn't working in this group.
It's
Yeah, I
fine.
think I'm surrounded by workaholics, just a little bit.
Like
But
Oh, really?
yeah, so I'm currently a sophomore at Central Philippine University. That's in Iloilo, and I'm finishing up my term as the DSC lead there. So that's kind of how I got into Flutter. To be more specific, last year during the first DSC at our campus, which was led by Chofi Urbanes, she was kind of introducing Google technologies, and Flutter was one. So we ended up using it for our freshman project. So that's kind of where it started. I was very indecisive as a freshie, so I ended up doing a couple projects. It went from like making games with Flutter and Flame to like a messaging app. Like there was so much. I had no idea what I wanted to do. But yeah, essentially that's how the Flutter journey started. And school just let out. Well, not really, because we still have defense. But when I'm not doing school stuff, I'm probably reading or working on something. So I guess we're
There you
all
go.
kind of alcoholic. Sorry, workaholics.
There you go.
only Joni is alcoholic.
Oh, I don't know
Marked
anything
by
about
my
that.
Irish blood. Just kidding.
I mean, thanks everyone for the introduction. Like, it's great to like I've already known you guys for years now, and next like it's been a while like since we've had this kind of like panel discussion. So yeah, like at least for everyone, I'm Joshua. I'm one of the community volunteers for Flutter.ph, and currently I'm working for a company that uses Flutter, and it's been a great experience so far. Like I mean, it's been a while. Like, I think I've been talking to like my team, like Johnny, Zonily, we've been talking like it's been a while since we're planning to do a release, but like I mean, like things happen. But yeah, eventually we're blessed. No, we got our app release just last month. So yeah, like we plan to hit 1,000 users, and yeah, like excited to
It's good.
like at least build more on top of it. Okay, now that you guys know who or some of the speakers are here, feel free to ask questions if you have any specific. Now you've known where they're coming from. If you have any specific questions to them, feel free to post them as a comment. But yeah, like I have couple of questions here that maybe we all can all talk about. Like right now, like I think we all have a few. Let me try to pull it up. Okay. Um, yeah, since we've already started talking about like things that you've started doing with Flutter, maybe we can talk about what are the like what are the things that you're currently building with Flutter, like on top of like the first time that you have met Flutter as a developer. Like maybe we can stay with the same routine then switch after. Sir, Sir Johnny, like you'd like to,
Uh,
or anyone,
can I
anyone who's
move
interested
my?
to jump in and answer the
Can
question.
can I move my?
Sadly, you can't move your screen. I tried.
I'm not
All
sure. Like
right.
I'm not sure if that's possible. Like yeah.
All right. No worries. No worries. Well, yeah. I mean, I've been working on the Boozy.ph application. It's kind of like every 2 weeks we do releases, and yeah, whenever there's a new feature, and I guess whenever I do fixes and stuff like that, we do releases week every other week. Yeah, and yeah, and the thing is, I do it still manually because ki- I kind of like control over. I don't want to have robots doing my stuff. Just kidding.
Oh, the
Yeah,
releases, right? Like the releases.
yeah, the releases. Yeah, it's always the longest part of the day. It's like pressing, like wait and wait and wait and so yeah. Yeah, but besides that, I haven't done any projects, and I mean, I mentioned that I've been doing some art stuff, and I've been doing some NFTs. I did some releases in wax. Um,
Wow.
Now, last weekend, I got this idea of creating an app um, to show the collection to the collectors in case that give them the FOMO effect. Like, I missed that one. I have to buy it. So basically, that's the idea for that one. And it's really rudimentary. It's just REST APIs and stuff like that. But the thing is, this is my first jump into the null safety, because
Mm.
Boozy.ph is still in the old um, in the old ways. Yeah, because we have some plugins that we're still using as
Mm.
Yeah, I feel you.
it hasn't upgraded yet. So I'm like,
Okay.
and yeah, and it's so much. It's like
Okay.
so many
We.
spaghetti stuff.
I mean, yeah. Like.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, we've,
I
we've
mean,
all
yeah.
been
We
there.
can. We can really deep dive to null safety and maybe ask you
Yes.
later about your experience with null safety. Thanks for that, Sir Johnny. Like,
Yeah.
I think
All
you're
right.
basically working on both blockchain and Flutter, right? Like, if I'm not mistaken, like in the wax.
Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
nice.
Blockchain, the artistic side of it.
Blockchain. Okay.
Blockchain.
What about you, Harvey? Like, I mean, Harvey is a really busy person. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Do you still
Yeah.
sleep, Harvey? I mean, do you guys still sleep? I don't. So,
I sleep. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think to
What
start
is his
off,
sleep?
right, like to start off on something the projects I've been doing. So let's start with the Flutter one, right? I wouldn't say that I have a specific quote unquote project work on Flutter, but I use Flutter. It's weird. I use it as a design like strategy. So how do I do it? For example, right, I'm designing a certain um, UI for a mobile screen, right? My go-to is always Flutter to see what's the real effect it could have, the widgets we have in Flutter, like the mobile navigation bar, the effects, all of those. I try to like. It's kind of weird. Maybe I'm a geek, right? I try to replicate it if this will work in a Flutter app, and because I believe the nature of Flutter, the widgets it has is really native in feeling, right? So if you could implement that in a UI version, right, with the designs that I've been doing, the better. So, but however, I've been willing, like, meaning to explore, trying to create custom widgets in Flutter. Because all this time I've been creating, my using the widgets provided by Flutter, and from then on, I'm looking like cloning other apps like maybe Slack, Discord, YouTube. I don't know. So it's more of that kind of exploration. I would say I'm not yet at the master's here level, but I'm so to summarize, I'm using it as a like design tool. Weird, right? A dev tool, but a design tool for me. But
Wow.
second is more of a training as well. And I think I'm not sure if the people are watching knows me, but I had this class as well from my alma mater where I teach them, basic Flutter and to intermediate. And I think that's something that I'm really looking forward. into the next class because they invited me again for a summer class this June. So it's really about teaching. It's more of my hobby in terms of Flutter, and but as you learn more, you have to build more, right? Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
all.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Harvey. And yeah, I think we have a couple of questions coming in. We'll answer it in a follow up. Yeah, well, thanks again, Harvey and Johnny, for sharing. Zonily, would you like to jump in? Uh,
Yeah. I think I can start it off with something like, so unlike Harvey and Joni, I'm actually not a graphical person like Harvey, and I like robots. Yeah, I build Gunpla. So, but the other thing is, so I really like the tooling around Flutter. So, what I do most of the time is that I explore the tooling because Flutter is a very developer friendly framework. So, for example, before, if I were to like create a build for iOS, I would have to archive it using Xcode. But with Flutter, I can just run a script. I don't even have to use Fastlane anymore. Or for Android, it's the same. So instead of like running on Android Studio to create an APK or an application bundle, I just have to run one script, Flutter and APK. So that's what I've actually been doing more of these days. So it's basically automating my workflow since I
Mm.
work with a kind of a large team. So I think I can say the composition, but it's a medium to large team. So essentially, what when we release test builds every day, I think twice or thrice, depending on the use case or if they need one, but it's scheduled. So instead of like running it myself, since I have some stuff that I need to do other than that, I would just run it on GitLab CI, and then GitLab would just release on build platforms like, for example, App Center or Firebase App Distribution. And besides that, so on the Flutter side of things, so I really like exploring the frameworks. So I have been doing a lot of stuff for like creating, for example, strings. So strings is something that is normally you code it in your app or you put it in some localizable ARB file. But on our app, what we do is we actually store it in the cloud. So we built a script using Dart to generate an intl file that will then can then be updated through the API at any time, just
Mm.
in case business says, "Oh, you want to change this part. You want to say it goes here, it goes there, or next, or I want you to do this." So in just to not release so much applications or so much have releases on the Play Store and the App Store, we just do that. So a lot of stuff are automated, and it's really nice. And Flutter is very friendly on that part because we only have one code base, unlike with iOS and Android before, where you have to separate a lot of stuff and then write it multiple times. So yeah,
Right,
uh,
I agree with I think on all parts, especially the tooling. Like tooling is probably one of
Yeah.
the unappreciated or undermined feature of Flutter, which
yeah,
I mean, we're talking about Dart it as well here, not just Flutter, but
Mhm.
like as part of the ecosystem of building Flutter apps, I think tooling is something that a developer should really look into, especially dev tools and the CLI of Flutter. That's really powerful tools. And the good thing is they're all open source, which is something that like you guys
yeah,
can
it's
contribute to
amazing.
or send issues. Yeah, sounds like having
the
a 24/7 support on GitHub.
the best part on that is, what if you like, oh, I like this, can I make an issue and request them to build this? And then if other people are like, oh, this sounds good, and then after a few months you'll see the new feature released on Flutter 2.3 or something, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's amazing.
and that's a contribution, right? Like whether it's
Yeah,
a PR, whether it's an issue, everyone is welcome, like to send these over to the repositories of Flutter. And yeah, like sorry, next, like like I think just to repeat the question, I'm curious, like what are you currently, or at least have work on or building in Flutter, like, and yeah, like we're really excited for it. Oops, sorry. Oh, I I think you
Oh wait, sorry,
are.
rewind.
All right, like yeah, like we're just really
Sorry, like
interested on. Hmm.
Oh no.
saying.
Hmm. Sorry, like
Oh,
no worries, no worries. I mean, this is just a technical difficulty. Yeah, like do you want me to repeat the question?
please.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably go slower on this one. So yeah, like we've been talking about what are the current stuff that we're currently building on Flutter. I'm curious, like like from the past, if you have like work on a Flutter app, like how is your experience on that one, like, and what is it all about? And please don't tell if it's like you have NDA contract on it, but pretty much, yeah, you can tell more about it.
Thankfully, thankfully no NDA in sight, so I'll avoid, I guess. Like I mentioned earlier, I've tried like making a game with Flutter, and that was one of the things that I found really. This was a bit over a year ago, like yeah, maybe like 18 months ago, something like that. So I found that really because like it was really marketed as cross-platform for like it was only like mobile at the time. So I was like, wow, I can make a game with this. This is so cool. And after that, I started doing more things like the messaging app I mentioned. And the thing that really like appealed to Flutter team is how if there's something you can think of doing, it's probably possible with Flutter. Like you want to do a game, okay, playing exists. You want to do like some super cool animations, right? If you want to like draw like use your curves yourself, okay, custom paint. So just the possibilities, that was what really appealed to me. So in terms of actual projects I've done, there was the game, and then there was this other one. It was actually really bad. It was a really bad game. Are you familiar with like Flappy Bird? It was
Yeah.
kind of like that, but for engineering students. So you had this like engineering character in the middle, and calculators and books would just like be there hitting. So yeah, that's basically the game.
So was it
It was
called
fun though.
Flappy
It was
Books?
fun. Stress relief.
Flutterbird.
And then there was essentially an Instagram clone, but
This
I'm
one.
not exactly sure. Oh yeah, sorry, you were saying.
No,
Oh,
no, no. Like yeah,
Dash.
we're
Can I have that? Can I
sorry. Like
have
there was a
Oh
delay.
my
Can I
I
have
want one too.
Yeah, like fluffy bird. Like I was just finding the right word, but yeah, like continue. Sorry. Yeah, like I was having fun.
some? But I'm actually serious. Can I have Dash? It's so cute.
This is something
I
that
am G.
like is this is something that like I don't produce. So maybe we can ask the Google team or Flutter team for us to send some and for PH. But yeah, yeah.
There you go.
Actually, that was the
All right.
gist of Flutter projects, like the game, which was more stress relief than anything, and Instagram clone, which was really just a way to figure out how to use Firebase. Then messaging app, same thing. Although right now, my group mates and I, my teammates and I, for like our final project this semester, we are working on essentially, um, wait, I'm not exactly sure. Like the words have gone
Is
out of my
is
head.
it a
Wait,
secret? I was like,
no, no, no,
You
no.
have some sort of NDAs around it.
Internal project. Uh, Area 50.
oh,
Oh,
Um,
sorry. Like
but no, it's essentially what do they call it? Like a POS, basically. That's our
mm,
mm,
project. So we use like Flutter and GraphQL. Thank you, Sir Joshua, for your wonderful talk earlier this year. It was very
all right.
helpful. It was very helpful. So yeah, that's essentially what we're working on. So wish us luck on our defense.
Well,
good luck, good
we
luck.
wish. Yeah, we wish
Good
you the
luck.
best for that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, like thanks for sharing. Hmm? Sorry.
Can I add something? Yeah, I remembered I
Sure.
had a project. I don't know if our viewers are watching, right? But there's one K drama series that I really liked, right?
Oh.
And it was
Let me guess. Let me guess.
okay. What was it, Sir Jody?
Startup. Startup.
Yes, sir. The
There
Of
startup
you go.
course.
vibes. So remember, like, there's this scene where the Namdo-san. I'm a spoiler, right? So sorry. Spoiler alert.
I
Please
haven't
show it to the
watched.
screen. But there's this part wherein they're building a tool for object detection, basically, right? Well, they said that it's around 99% accuracy, but mine is not. So just to summarize, right? I built a mobile app with TensorFlow Lite, if I'm not mistaken, object detections, wherein it uses the camera API of a mobile phone and even the photo gallery API, wherein I could just just put my some like my open the camera, then just okay, this is a mouse, okay, this is a laptop. So it's just more of like that that I did, just an exploration of both me wanting to explore data science at the same time me wanting to delve deeper, right, in into the APIs that you could manage in in Flutter. So yeah, I think that's actually I have a GitHub repo. So if you want to PM me,
Mm.
message me and you could check it out. And maybe you could be the
Yeah.
next Namdo-san.
Feel free to send it privately, Harvey, and I can share it to the comment section for you.
Yeah.
Sure, sure. Let me find it.
Yes.
That's
Skynet
all.
would like your code.
The great thing about stuff like this is it's not actually that hard to do as long as you read some documentation and tutorials.
Yeah,
That's
as
right.
Yeah.
long as you watch YouTube videos and copy them as well for their problems.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
there's
Like.
Stack Overflow in Google.
Yeah, Stack
Yeah.
Overflow is a best friend. Love it. Even the GitHub repos, everything's there.
Well, especially what do you call this? Google something. I forgot. What's it called?
In the middle,
Is it a search?
right out at the tip of your tongue. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Like. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing. Like your amazing projects. And I think we can answer a few questions here, so we don't
Sure.
have them wait. So. Uh, okay. I'm not sure if this is a question, but not sure if you guys can see it. So I can relate software engineer. Oh yeah. Not sure if this is a question,
I
But
think
but
I
yeah. I
could
that's it.
think.
I
There you
could
go.
answer, like, I could add to that, right? Although you're not into, like, you're still in the web
Mhm.
because I started from the web, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
I'm
me
a
too.
web person. Actually, I'm more of a web person.
Spider-Man.
Spider than a mobile. But I think what's amazing, if you explore Flutter, it's gonna be really super easy. Like,
Mhm.
as someone who I don't know loves JavaScript so much, it was easy for me to really learn Dart. Right? Like, it has the same somehow syntax. It has some of the same, like, data types and all of those structuring. I think it's more of just the how the widgets that's different, the class, the components, right? But I think if you explore Flutter from a web perspective, it is something, a new venture for you. Yeah.
Fun
Yeah.
fun fact. Dart was actually made to be a replacement for JavaScript.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Ooh.
just to add on, like like if you're coming from web, like I think the experience, like way back in college, like I was also doing like mostly like admin and back end web stuff. But like the way I would approach Flutter is if you're already familiar, like for example, integrating native components like camera, like in Chrome, like that's probably one
Hard.
of the, for example, in StreamYard, like hardware APIs like microphone, camera. I think that's kind of like the new thing that you will have to learn for mobile. So, on top of creating UIs for the web, that will still apply for building UIs for mobile. But like depending on how complex your app is, or like the native components that you're trying to access, I think that will kind of like add to the things that you have to learn. If but again, like most of them have already packages, you can access them to pub.dev, and if there's no packages, you can always create your own and like connect native with Flutter using platform channels. But again, that's something that like it's really complex for someone who's starting using Flutter. But yeah, like glad we answered your question. Not sure if this is a question, but hopefully this helped most of you out there who
Inspiration.
wondering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd also like to add something, just a small bit. So the great thing
Mhm.
about Flutter is that the terminologies they're using to write stuff is basically kind of agnostic. So if you're going to create some kind of text, you just need a text widget. Or if you want to add a padding, you just use a padding widget. So it's
Mhm.
definitely right there in your headspace. Just don't overthink it. And then if you're confused or you just don't know what to do, just write on Google how to add text in Flutter. Yeah.
Oh,
Your
yeah.
your
I think.
Simple.
Yeah.
Mm, I think
your
you were
classic
talking
best friend.
about the declarative approach, like for
Yeah.
UI on Flutter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's basically it. Like, yeah, that's really helpful. Less cognitive load. The way what you write is pretty much what you will get in an output. Okay, for the next question, I think we can answer two more. Then I can go on the next round of questions. So yeah, like anyone care to answer this one? So basically, like
Yeah.
the question in English, like, is it recommended to use Flutter for building an online shop for mobile? So probably he's referring to an app similar to Lazada or Shopee, but yeah, again, we're not sponsors of it, but yeah, like yeah, I
Or
was just giving
Boozy.
a context, so you guys are aware. Oh yeah, Boozy, yeah, a good example,
Yeah.
like from Sir Johnny.
Yep.
So yeah, like anyone wants to answer this one?
Yeah, I can answer that one. Yeah, basically any e-commerce any e-commerce software you can use it like Shopify or WooCommerce as long as it can output either a GraphQL or REST API. You'll be able to create your own online shop using in a mobile either mobile and web. I mean that's the beauty of Flutter. You can do both now. So yeah, that's basically those. I think that's the two most common e-commerce software at the moment: Shopify and WooCommerce. Yeah.
Yeah, but for those, I forgot which API that I
Mm-hmm.
used, but
Mm-hmm.
I know Shopify WooCommerce are pricey, especially if you're just
Oh
exploring,
yes, of
right?
course.
Exploring these tools, right? But I believe there
Mm-hmm.
are other. I just forgot the name, but you just search in Google API e-commerce solution,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for sure there will be like APIs available, which you could have your own dashboard in the web, but you could use the API on a mobile app and just connect it and add to cart is easy, right? Check out and all. But yeah,
Yep.
I though recommending that e-commerce as a starter is an overkill.
Yes.
I've been there and done that, and I it's a big hell of a deal. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So you
That's true.
started an e-commerce shop as well,
it's more of
Harvey.
I did something for a client. I did something for a
Yeah,
client. Yeah. And
yeah,
I explored it and wow, this is hard.
yeah,
I won't go back to it again solo.
yeah. I
All
don't want
right.
to go back to.
All right. Thanks for sharing
That
it,
was
guys. Like, really, like for building apps in Flutter, I think things that you have to consider also as well is this app going to be hardware extensive? Is this app going to use a
mm,
lot of hardware APIs? So I think that's first thing. I think the way I see it for online shopping apps, like normally you would just have to use camera for QR code, and the rest are Sir Johnny mentioned like most of them are REST APIs, and like Harvey mentioned, there are a lot of APIs out there. So for example, Shopee API or Shopify APIs for you to be able to like work with the data set in your backend. And yeah, it's all a matter of creating now your UIs rather than worrying about the
Yeah.
integration. Um, okay, I think we have two more here, so and we can move on the next. So I just learned Flutter, haven't got any working experience yet. Can I still get job as a Flutter developer? Yeah. Anyone you want to jump in this one?
Well, I don't think age really has what do you call this? A bearing
Limit.
when you're learning something, because
Yep.
Even if you're 60 or 70, as long as you really want to learn something, you may learn it, and then you could just try something like what do you call this, third party freelancing websites where you can just find a job.
Hmm.
But you can start from there, or you can also start from internships. You apply somewhere who are accepting interns, and basically if you just build your portfolio. So for example, like what Harvey did, so he was building sample applications on his GitHub profile. So if you have an extensive sample applications that you have built, and it will be really something that is very much what people who are hiring would like. So it's something they're looking for. It's definitely one thing I'm looking for if you're going to be applying for my company. So I'm going to
Stratpoint.
check. Yeah, yeah. So we're hiring. So anyway, going back.
Great
So yeah,
segue, man.
you
The
can just
plug,
message
the
me.
plug is great there.
So, but going to the thing,
Hmm.
anyone can learn. It's just your strategy on how you're going to achieve it. So, for example, that's what I said earlier. Build a portfolio for yourself, practice well, read a lot of documentation, and if you're skilled enough, you can get hired.
All right. Do you guys want to add anything to that? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, just to add to Zonily. See, it's hard to
Yeah,
pronounce your name.
just
Z's
call me Z.
the
Z's what Z has mentioned. Age doesn't matter with learning. I mean, look at me, I'm old.
No, you're not.
Don't ask how old.
You're not.
You just
Yes,
have
I
old
am.
at
this.
heart.
Yeah, I try to make myself as old as possible. Anyways, yeah, it just if you desire to learn Flutter, just learn it and practice it, and you never know, it might change your life. Ooh,
Ooh,
Yeah.
that's huge.
we sound like a new age thing, yeah.
Wisdom comes with age. Master.
And Flutter.
Advisor, Flutter advisor.
With Flutter, you can grow
Okay.
wings.
All right.
Literally,
Thanks for
guys,
sharing. Hmm.
really can make your coding dreams come true.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's
Oh
literally
yeah,
a
like
comment.
yeah, like that's a
Oh
great
yeah, but
comment.
to add, I don't
Hmm.
work yet,
Hmm.
but
Not yet.
something I would add to what Kuya Z and Sir Joni just said is join communities. Like sa
Yeah.
That's
Flutter
very good.
Philippine community, there are a lot of opportunities there. A lot of people are like, hey, there's this opportunity, or hey, I'm looking for someone to do this thing with. So yeah, join communities, especially Flutter Philippine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think.
and
Which one is that?
yeah. Go Harvey.
Nice.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So to add to that, like I think what helped me in my quote unquote career experience is the network, right? So although you're starting to learn Flutter or haven't started in Flutter, I think the most valuable thing you could have is a network. And most especially if you could have, someone request a mentor. Like you can have Stack Overflow as your go-to, but you could have someone to help you out in, asking for question in growth, right? And I believe, you could find this as what Nick was saying in communities like Flutter Philippines, right? And there are lots of other things you could explore. Like one of strategies I would do for networking is I would just join random Discord channels that part of a certain interest that I'm in. For example, if I want to learn about Flutter, even Flutter Philippines has its own Discord server, right? So you can just join in or join other global Flutter Discord channels. And I think the global one has a Slack, if I'm not mistaken. So just keep joining them, and just reach out to people. And I think what I like about the Flutter community is that they are really approachable, right? And this approachability allows me, like, to explore this, right? This path allows me to open up the like myself, and being able to speak here is already an opportunity for me. So yeah, hope that inspires.
Okay. Thanks guys for sharing. I think one thing that like your point or all of your points are like really really great. Also, one thing that I would like to add up is, technology. No, I mean, like right now we're living hard times. Don't think technology is something that like really, really interesting to like enter as an industry. Like for example, like I'm not sure like what your past experience is, but like if this is your first time trying out programming in general, like now there's nothing wrong like starting from really from scratch or starting right away with Flutter. Other than studying other programming languages, like the way I would approach it, it's really like it start with the code labs, like code labs from Google. It's
Yeah,
very
that's what I was
beginner
talking about.
friendly.
Oh,
And
Code
you
Lab.
forgot the code labs.
There you go.
yeah, the Google code labs, yeah. And yeah, like eventually, no, you will, like as Z mentioned, you will be able to create a portfolios. And also for example, like this is just one of the links that I'll be sharing. We have a lot more on our, I think this is still sending. So for example, like this remotely slash who is hiring, this is just one of the many of the websites that curate jobs in Flutter and in software engineering in general. So basically, like right now we're working on for tech is really one of the like during the pandemic is really one of the interesting times. Like since we are given the chance to work at home, spend time with our families, and yeah, like also the learning opportunity is huge. Like like Harvey mentioned, like you can build a network online, joining Discord, and next mentioned like joining communities, which is really great for someone who's like really staying at home at the comfort of their home than in front of the computer. So hopefully we've shared something meaningful to you. And I think to answer another question, I think I'm sorry, like I'm still looking into in order so that like it's fair for everyone. Okay, so think I think it's a lot. There are a lot of comments. I think this one, Harvey. Maybe you're interested to answer this question.
Yeah, so again, just a take note, I'm not a ML expert. I'm also like you exploring, right? The data science. Yeah, just take a step back, right? Let me give a background. I would say I'm more of a front end engineer. So I love seeing visuals more, right? I like seeing a screen. I like seeing that when I change the code, it will change in my screen, right? However, the problem that's why I'm not also fit for backend, though I'm liking backend recently because you know creating a post request and a get request is easier than creating a very responsive UI, right? But as you like in my experience in machine learning, I don't really see things changing. Always see errors, right? So, and usually these errors is something that frustrates me. I actually like every developer, right? Every error, every bug you see, is a hurdle to pass, right? But for me, what you could explore is you can explore the ML kit by Firebase, if I'm not mistaken. It allows you to integrate freely with with mobile applications. That's one. Um, and number two, as I said, I use TensorFlow Lite. TensorFlow Lite is the mobile version to be allowed, right, in a client side rendering, which is for the Flutter side, right? So these two is the two that I know, but all those advanced stuffs is something that I really don't know. I think it would be best, right, to I think my word of advice, right, just focus on one one segment first before you explore another, right? It's just that I just got influence from the startup K Java series that I dared myself, to move beyond a certain technological segment. But yeah, hope that answers your question. So the Firebase mobile kit and TensorFlow Lite is something you can explore.
There you go.
Just
Yeah.
Baby
explore.
steps.
The worst you can do is something like on Silicon Valley where their ML application was like hot dog or not hot dog.
Yeah, like yeah, at least like thanks for asking the question. Like there are a lot of packages out there. Some of them though like are deprecated. Like for example, ML Kit. But again, you can use the latest packages from pub.dev, which is Google ML Kit. They show you the documentation how to do it. Also, there's Google ML Vision. Depending on how what are you trying to achieve basically with ML for
Mhm.
Flutter. Normally, like these, like ML,
Yeah.
depending on how high level or low level ML you plan to do. Like I think if you plan to do high level, like I think the packages should be enough. But like if you plan to deep dive, like you really have to create your own model, and this is really something that outside Flutter's concern. But again, like with the packages, it can help you retrain or import the models that you're trying to add to the apps that you're trying to build. Okay,
Yeah, to
thanks
add
for
to
that,
that,
Harvey.
yeah, like
Sure thing. Harvey.
I sorry, like to add to that, right? At yeah, am I lagging? Sorry, but
No.
yeah. To add to that, right? On this note, usually the ML really resides on the server side, right? So Flutter doesn't really concern, maybe some state management will, but at the end of the day, it would for me, like you could just host it on Google Cloud, right? Or use AWS for whatever reason and do the calculation. That's why this is the era what we call cloud computing, right? So all of those computation will happen in the cloud, and it's just up to your API that will send back that to your mobile app. Yeah, and I think that's something you could explore. Maybe the depth of science first if you want to explore that side of ML, or just focus on Flutter. Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. Thanks for that, Harvey. So again, we'll answer next set of questions after. I'll just have a few questions for these awesome people here, and maybe we can go from instead of Sir Johnny, we can start with Nix with this one, or
There you
anyone
go.
Yes.
anyone who want to start the loop, basically. Oh yeah, at least for the next question, since we've talked about our experiences, this is like how good Flutter is. Maybe like for us to be transparent and but not too brutal. We're keeping a we're keeping a good community here. And for example, certain things like comparing but what are your challenges? What are the challenges that you have faced when you are trying to build a Flutter app? So, for example, whether it's mobile, whether it's on the installation of the Flutter SDK, maybe you haven't built the app, but there's already a challenge to it. So, I'm curious, what are your experiences on that one? Yeah, so maybe the audience will be able to see how difficult it is or how they can overcome it. So maybe basically the challenge and how you overcome it. Who wants to go first? I mean, the floor is open for everyone.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll take note of all the cues. I guess the first challenge that I had with Flutter was
Reverse
Android
card.
Studio. Just Android Studio, period. So last year I had a very no, actually I didn't even have a laptop. That was my problem. I didn't have a laptop, so I would be borrowing my friends' laptops, and it was not really for software development. It was very underpowered. So I was trying to build a mobile app, but I needed stuff from Android Studio. So I was like, okay, how do I do this? Because I'm scared that I will like break this if I push it. So what I ended up doing was borrowing someone's laptop, and now I have my own. So very blessed. I guess that was the first challenge, and then after that, it was just not as bad as I thought would when it came to actual Flutter stuff. It wasn't that bad. I struggled with I'm kind of shy because this might seem really easy to some people. Like I'm surrounded by people who are good at UI. Basically, I struggled with responsive design. I'm not a UI person. I'm really not. So it was like, okay, this just seems so off. It seems so wrong. Like it's just like it looked fine on this like size, but then when I like make it 1 pixel smaller, it's like okay, I broke it. But I'm a bit better at it. But that was really something I struggled with at first. Um, first year days, connecting to a back end. That was definitely one. Cause I was more familiar with like JavaScript and stuff like that. So um kind of like it was weird for me at first how like the HTTP package works in Flutter. I was like, okay. I was like reading the docs. I was like, I understand nothing. The docs are really good, actually. It was me. It wasn't the docs. It was me. It was me. It was
Okay.
me. But yeah, I kept on reading the docs. And I was like, okay, what? And then just like mini bugs, like you know how when you're like building something and then the screen just turns red in Flutter. I was
Oh.
like, okay, no state. I was like, okay, what have I done now? But now I've encountered that error enough times to know that it's because of a list. So yeah, but that was something that was like, I think if I had to like sum it up, I spent probably like 5 hours just figuring out what that was. So like weird errors, but like errors and messages are like really descriptive now. So I think it won't take you 5 hours to figure that out. Yeah, I
Okay, so
don't think I'll take 5 hours. So yeah,
yeah, like
those are kind of the things that I struggled with. There's quite a lot that I haven't done yet, like publishing to the App Store. So maybe you want to go next, or Joshua? What were your struggles when it came to things like that?
He has
yeah,
no
yeah.
struggles.
I mean, the way you try to rephrase your story, like for example, 5 hours in reading documents. I'm not sure if you guys have seen this meme, right? Like, I wasted 5 hours instead of reading 5 minutes of documentation. So, not sure if that's something that you have, you guys have have seen on Facebook or something.
Yeah, I've
But yeah,
seen
like,
that one.
but yeah, thanks for sharing,
So Nix
Alex.
did the opposite.
Yeah.
She read it for 5 hours.
Oh
She
no
had
Yeah.
a
no! It took like a while to figure out being at first, and then reading
yeah.
docs and like nothing really working. I was like, okay, let me sleep, and then I came back. I was like, wow, magic.
Mm, there you
Yeah,
go.
like
But
5 hours
I
of
like
coding save you 5 minutes of reading the documentation.
yeah. Um, but I like her solution with the Android Studio. I
Yeah.
might break something on Android Studio, so I'm going to borrow my friend's laptop. So if it breaks, it's
It's not
not my
mine.
laptop.
It's hers.
So I wasn't willing to break it. I wasn't willing to break it. It's like it didn't have enough RAM to even like run Android Studio. So I was like,
Oh God.
because one of my classmates had gone through that, and
Mhm.
she fried her CPU. So I was like, it's
Oh.
not
Oh,
mine. If it was mine,
yeah.
maybe, but no. So yeah, if it was
All
mine,
right, all
maybe,
right.
but no.
I we
All
understand.
right.
Yeah. We've been there.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I was nominated, so yeah, I have to keep it. I think there are a lot of challenges, to be honest. Like there are a lot of challenges, but one really that is very annoying is at least recently was the web
Ah.
views and cookie managers. So there are devices, especially if you're using Flutter 1.22, and one of the challenges there is you cannot upgrade to the latest dependencies with which has fixes. Like for example, there's things related to cookies. So I tried to not to be like low level or deep dive on this too much, but yeah, at least the high level issue is it's related to cookies. So the session sometimes is destroyed within the flow. So we have
Mhm.
like we have vendors that does not provide APIs but rather auth or a web views, like for example linking a bank account using Plaid or Visa. So the way we go about it is instead of using cookies, we have created a secure way of like we call it like customer token. So this is an expiring link token that allows us to securely open that specific web page with attached with a cookie that is unique to the user. So we like the way we solve it is using a unique expiring and identified URL. So basically like it's still authenticated, although like with this one like we have received zero errors right now, hopefully. Like I think with the hundreds and volume, like we haven't received any errors. So that's one thing, like no, like I think one of the challenges here really is not the cookie and packages itself that is not like it's not working properly, but rather currently like Sir Johnny, we're still on Flutter 1.2, because we have a lot of dependencies and the app is really big for us to be able to migrate everything. Because for migrating to from Flutter 1 to 2.0, like you have to migrate every dependency like,
Yeah.
that you're using in your app. But again, like with Flutter, if you're using Flutter 2.0, this issue, like I think I've read the repo, it's already fixed for latest devices like iOS, Android 12 specifically. And this is a new OS, so if you're Flutter 2.0, that should be fixed. So yeah, like that's pretty much
Oh,
my recent experience or challenge with Flutter. So Sir Johnny or Zonily, Harvey, want to go
all right.
next?
I'll go next. Well, yeah, my when starting Flutter, yeah, at first I was quite skeptical about it, but that's like 2 or 3 years ago. So now, like, I'm glad I did it. Yeah, same as others. I mean, uh, I I was a web developer first, and yeah, I loved with a D JavaScript before. Now I love Dart and Flutter. The first challenge, I guess, it's learning the new language probably. But after a while, you get used to it, and I'm like, why didn't I started this years ago and stuff like that? But yeah, after that, I guess the next thing that I can say, what frustrates me recently is, if you are in a project for a long time, you get used to all of the whatever plugins or setup that you already or structure that you have installed. But when you're starting a new project, you're trying to look for those um, features like, it's in the other project. Crap. So I have to install it again and set it up the way you wanted it. Um, yeah. So I think that's it. It gets frustrating, or it gets stagnant if you do a project for a long time. So it's always advisable to do projects here from time to time, especially with the null safety version 2.0. Um, so I was like working with the this new pet project. I'm like, what are what's this question mark? What's this exclamation mark and stuff like that? So like, all right, I'll just put question mark on all of them. so so it's kind of like not doing the null safety. No, but I yeah, I try to like next just type around and see what happens if I did this and stuff like that instead of reading the doc. No, but yeah, reading the docs is quite important, or else you'll be like, why is it not working like this? Yeah. Oh, and also there's
All
there's
right.
also one
Mhm.
one more thing. Sometimes there's some error messages that are like really cryptic. Because I use the very good Ventures Create app, CLI. So I'm like, what is this? Apparently, it's from Flutter. So I'm like, I was trying to use an integer inside a map with the dynamic, which
Mm.
supposed to be map string.
Map string
Why did they?
iterable. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I I'm like, why not just change it to a string if you're going to use strings anyway? So I'm like, all right. So I was confused about that, but then again, I was like, I figured it out. Okay, it must be one of this. But if you're not used to development, you'd be like, I can't even find it in Stack Overflow. So like, I have to. Good thing I remember I already had that problem before. So it's always good. That's why it's always good to practice and practice and practice. So you know those tiny errors, it's filed inside of one of your brain cells, and it's just gonna fire up one of these
Yeah,
days.
it will become a muscle memory. Okay,
That's why my hair
Harvey,
is
Zon,
losing.
Oh no.
one hair at a time, one issue,
Yeah.
one hair at a time. Who wants to go first? Yeah. What's the challenges you've encountered in Flutter? Maybe one or two, and how did you guys overcome it?
I actually have three. So my first one,
Okay.
since I have three. So I was coming from a mobile perspective. So I was coding in Kotlin and Swift. So Kotlin and Swift has a pretty much a very good typing system and generic system. So when I came to Dart, the first thing that we would try was like to connect to a REST API. And then I was like, why doesn't this data type just convert? What the hell is dynamic and why is it so hard to convert it to string? So it's supposed to be like easy, but then at the very beginning I was like, why is map not becoming a list and becoming something else? And supposedly you're just supposed to add that to list. Oh, it's not a list, it's a map string iterable. Why that's terrible. Why is it not a list? So that's one of the things that I was like frustrated about at first. And then the second one was like creating maps for objects so we can automate JSON parsing was very much different. So, for example, for languages like Kotlin and Swift, you can enable things like what we call reflection. So, essentially, it reads the file and then tries to wrap the JSON object you found to existing objects in your code base. So, but and with that, generics came easy because well, reflection. But then after like exploring a while, what I found was like you had to create code generators. So that was foreign to me from coming from a different language since I didn't really use code generators before then, for example, for Swift, because it's a very different thing. And then the next part was like wrapping my head around build context. What the hell is a build context? So essentially at first I was like, so on object oriented programming, you're supposed to do this, pass this object here, and then if you pass it to the next screen, it's supposed to stay there. But why is a stateless widget when it reloads, the object
It
in memory
has.
is gone? It's gone. Why? So apparently it's because of the things around memory management. So you should put the variables in a certain place for Flutter.
Mhm.
And that's where I got around. Okay, build context is like a node tree of some sort. And then that's where I understood providers. Nice. And finally, I think the last problem I've had is generally migrating from 1.22 to Flutter 2 because yeah, a lot a lot of the libraries we use aren't really updated, and sometimes what I did was kind of incrementally updating stuff. So I was looking for libraries we use that had a lot of other sub dependencies. So step one was to remove those or write some kind of something of it of our own. As much as possible, reduce the dependency graph. We haven't migrated to Flutter 2 yet, but we're going there. We're going there.
5 years
All
from now.
right.
Oh no,
Thanks
no,
for.
please no.
We're already on Flutter 4 at that time. All right. Yeah, like thanks Zonily. Harvey, would you like to
Yeah,
share your
mine's quick.
challenges?
I would say I don't have that much big of experience like Yuchi, but one of which
Hmm.
is I forgot to say a while ago. Like you know how everyone is in the pandemic right now, remote, right? And one of the
Hmm.
problem was, at least for students, is how do I join organizations? Like feel the recruitment. I don't know if you've experienced that in your own universities, but in Ateneo, there's such thing like actually like animes, like there are clubs, you join clubs, right? So that's also the same case in Ateneo, right? Students would love to have new students to join their org, right? And one of the projects we had then was like we saw it as an opportunity. Why not? Let's create the first ever mobile application that allows these students to apply to organizations, right? So it's like a recruitment app, so to speak.
Mm.
So and it start like one of the problems is first, um, I think in more of the deployment side is the for the Apple, like deploying it in the Apple Store, right? We had a scheduled launch because I came from the web, right? So how easy it is to deploy in the web. You just have a domain, a hosting site, deploy, done, right? There's no
Yeah.
more third party trying to, okay, I'm gonna check what you have posted, right? But for Apple, like it took almost a month back and forth
I,
changes. Well, one of which is I think they got a new update where there should be an Apple sign up, right? Not just a Google sign up. So I had to create
mm,
a new function to have an Apple sign up and all those things and necessities. So we had to delay a month of lunch just for the very sweet apple, right? And then the second would be, I would say, I think it's more of it's also the responsiveness, right? At the end of the day, even if it's still in phone, right? You need to adjust it for bigger phones right now, right? There's iPhone SE, there's a bigger iPhone, all of these things, right? And the responsiveness at which is bad. So we had to reach out to Flutter Philippines, and I think he's watching the chat right now in this call. And shout out to you. And he helped us in trying to manage, that responsiveness. So I think that those are the two things that I had. It's really lack of first-hand experience, I would say, and second would be um right the deployment, which I really didn't had experience on before. Yeah, I think that's all for me.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of things. Joshua, I think you're speaking, but there's no
Oh
audio.
yeah, I'm sorry. Like yeah, I was just like really, really, really. I know. I mean, I'm really, really happy. That even if Flutter is offering us these features, a lot of us are still honest. Like with the things that we are actually experiencing, and hopefully, like with some of the challenges that we mentioned here, you guys learned something about like how you can go about it. But again, if there's something that is really crucial, like specific on your project, like please let us know or ask or post it in
Yeah,
our
post it in
community.
the community. There are a
Yeah.
lot of community heroes who just help people. So it's pretty wholesome.
Okay. Talking about life as a Flutter developer, the challenges, the experiences with Flutter. Uh, Maybe Sir Johnny or Zonily can give us more light on this one. Like, what is? Oh, how can I phrase this in not telling or asking you your salary? uh,
No.
what is it like as a as a Flutter developer working remotely or working here in the Philippines? Like, is it difficult to find jobs that are looking for Flutter developers specifically, or like if you're one to like you can answer the salary, but yeah, like maybe you can
Who's
start
first?
with the first one. Okay.
I can
Yeah.
start. All right. Well, yeah. As I mentioned before, I was a web developer. I changed to Flutter development reluctantly at first, but now I like it. I love it. I think as long as you love what you're doing, the the money's gonna come. And Yeah, I guess there's opportunity out there. You just have to prove that you're um,
Something to value.
flutter worthy. But yeah, I mean, it's um, I it sounds corny, but it's kind of like flutter is life changing and stuff like that. But it is. I mean, from doing web development, now a Flutter developer, I did mobile apps. I also did a Flutter game, which was one of my dreams before. Created I created art with Flutter as well. So there's so many things that you can do with it. It's up to you what how are you going to use it. For let's see, for the salary, Z is going to answer that.
No, why me? It should be Joshua.
Yeah, but you don't I think don't go for the salary.
Yeah,
If you're looking for a job, look for something that if you're going to look for a job, make sure you're going to learn something from there. Because if you went to a job and you're just um, doing the same thing day after day after day, it's you're not going to improve your skills at
you're
all.
gonna become
So it's
stagnant. You're not gonna
stagnant.
learn. Yeah,
Yep. And yeah, it's always this is always what I say. Focus on learning first. Even if you're as old as me, you're always going to be learning. If if you stop learning, you might as well just give up.
oh,
Y- young at heart, Sir Johnny. Young at heart.
Yeah, yeah, it's hurt. How
young
about
at hurt.
Okay. How about you, Zonally? Like,
Uh, well, as a
salary?
no,
I'm sorry. Just kidding.
it should be Joshua. He's working at a bank. But yeah, as far as opportunities go, no, actually there are a lot of what do you call this opportunities right now for Flutter developers here in the Philippines,
Mhm.
and I can see it in LinkedIn. So, for example, there are a lot of offers out there, and not just for seasoned, experienced developers who have like coded with mobile before. There are offers out there who are looking for fresh graduates. As for
Mhm.
example, us, Stratpoint.
There you go.
A few months ago, we were looking for fresh graduates. So that's something to say for the Flutter
Mhm.
ecosystem here in the country. And
Yep.
there's actually a growing user base of companies who are using Flutter to develop applications here in the Philippines. So it's not to say that I know which ones are that there are offers coming in, but there are. And that they are
Mhm.
looking for people who will create applications. And it's because, before I was developing with Flutter, I was developing for iOS and Android natively. So if I were to develop an application, I would have to write it in two separate code bases. But now with Flutter, I spend, I think, one third of the time and create two applications that have no issues whatsoever with implementations because it's essentially the same code base. And that is what is very much appealing to these companies because you can spend less for developers because yeah, you have less developers now. You don't need native developers, but yeah, you still need native developers. And
Yeah. Yeah.
other than that, no, the thing wherein you can iterate really fast and create a lot of product where there is a lot of competition, it's a very big thing for them. And so I think Flutter is a very booming thing, and you can see the community behind it. It's one of the fastest growing. I think it's the fastest growing right now, no? And it is still one of the top
So,
ones at GitHub and Stack Overflow. I haven't checked recently, but last I checked, it was number one. So what was the other question again?
all right, the salary, Z, the
Oh
salary.
no, that's not that's not answerable.
Okay, okay, good. That's NDA. That's NDA. Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
we
like
have NDAs for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, one thing now, like I think you can see with Johnny, with Zonily, that the Flutter ecosystem here really in the country are already started. Before way back, in, I think 2018 or 2017, like there's probably little to no, like Flutter job
Little to none, yeah.
opportunities here, yeah, in the country. So with like Johnny Lee, Zonily leading the Flutter teams in their companies, like you've seen more and more companies that are actually adding, like are actually hiring more Flutter devs. Um, to build apps like for their products or for clients. So at least from I'm coming from my experience working from both here in the Philippines and as a remote engineer. So as a remote engineer, there's a lot of jobs out there. Really, like one thing that you can look into is websites like Remote Leaf or Angel.co. There's a lot of remote jobs out there and probably find something that works well with your time zone. Like my my company is currently 12 hours. There we have a 12-hour difference. So, but yeah, it
That's
still
hard.
works. It will work fine for me. Like I work probably midday, like 10 to 7 p.m. But again, remote work is something possible. Something I can say that it's a blessing in disguise for us developers in the tech community. So grab that opportunity to work for a company both here in the country, whether you're in a province or abroad, like working for companies like startups or big companies like Google or Amazon. And
So I'd like to add one more thing. So
mhm,
on our community, so Flutter Philippines community, so we have monthly job posts on the Facebook group. So you can actually find employers commenting there monthly. They're looking for developers, so it's not so to say that there are no companies. And now there are more and more people who are commenting there. So if you are looking for a job, just go to our announcements page and find the hashtag, I think, Flutter Jobs or Jobs. It has its own tag. Anyway, you can look for people that are hiring. And when choosing a company, of course, don't just choose the one that bids the highest salary. Pick the one that makes you happy or gives you something that you can learn. There's mentorship. And of course, something that isn't going to be hitting you for your health. Because right now, health really is important.
Mental health,
Yeah,
especially.
especially your mental health.
Yeah.
okay.
Is Harvey
Mhm.
hiring?
Yeah, CEO
As,
for
as a
Teemly.
CEO.
Like,
Not yet, not yet. Let's see.
Oh, that's it.
yeah, like with proper funding, Harvey will be one
Yeah.
of the young millionaires.
There you go.
CEOs. Okay.
Unicorns.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing your experiences with us, Johnny and Zonily. So now, like we have our very, like a very, like passionate leaders in here for student-led communities. Harvey, it's been a while. I've known him for years, and Nix, like I'm curious, like how is Flutter, adopted or being used by students right now? Are they currently being used for projects? Is it a required part of the curriculum, or how can we do better in terms of like reaching more students to adapt Flutter? Like, maybe any one of you can answer the first.
Next could go. So it's me. Okay. Yeah. So let me start, right? So let me give a background. How are we in this community trying to penetrate Flutter in the academe space, right? So to give context, first of all, in a university level, right? Specifically in Ateneo. I'm not sure if this is gonna work for other universities, right? But the main course being taught, at least in the mobile sense, is Android development, right? So that's one. So Android development. Again, just to take note, I'm not a computer science student, nor I am an IT student. I'm in the management, so I really don't know their courses. But from what I've heard, right, it's really more on Java, or I think recently they've been shifting to Kotlin already, right? So it was really Android Studio, their best friend, right? And sadly, our school isn't teaching iOS development. Maybe because of hardware issues. As you know, buying lots of Macintosh is how much of a price, right? So and that might be the reason why it's hard to teach the iOS here in the Philippines because of that hardware gap, right? Or cost. So that's where I believe developer student clubs went in, right? It Imagine it as a business opportunity, right? The market didn't have anything at all. They just had one thing, which they dreaded the most. Android Studio. They experienced the same thing Next was experiencing. Um, yeah, so when we were teaching that one, right, Flutter, it was easy for them. They saw that with just VS Code they could code without frying their or right, frying their PCs and laptop. And I think that was something of an experience for them. And I remember that time, Joshua was one of our speakers. um he went inside Ateneo and was teaching. Though we had some technical difficulties, it was still a start, right? There are no perfect starts, as they would say. But right now, as progress went by, right, we've been inviting Flutter speakers, workshops. I too have been being, you know, get for speakership, which is actually I want to do not wanna get me as a speaker. I wanna rest, right? Workshops are hard, but just kidding aside, right? That effect, like even though it was just more of a religious aspect for my org, which is Developer Student Clubs Ateneo, right? Even or Loyola to be specific, even if it was just like a routine. Okay, let's have a Flutter speaker. Okay, let's have a Flutter workshop. Okay, this and that. I've been hearing stories, right, that they've been using Flutter for their thesis, right? So I think that's one thing that's interesting, right? Wherein they would just ask the page, "Hi, who could I ask?" Right? For help. I'm doing a Flutter project for my thesis. I need your help. Those kinds of things, right? At the same time, even for a non-academic project, they've been using it, if I'm not mistaken, right? Some Yeah, as I said a while ago, we've launched the first mobile app university wide, right? So that came to an effect that other people have started exploring mobile apps. Yeah, it created the market for that. So actually, if you look at other organizations, they will always go for web because web's the easiest thing to build, right, in the start. But with us
Not anymore.
introducing, yeah, but introducing Flutter and its power of creating, di ba, mobile apps, web application, even desktop applications, right? People have been, doing it for academic and non-academic things. And yeah, I think that's something that I could share. And that's just, again, my university, right? There are 25 more universities that has a developer student clubs Loyola. So imagine that impact that we're trying to give through Flutter and other Google technologies. And yeah, Nix could share more about her experience as the lead.
Okay, let me just compliment you first. That segue was smooth. That segue was smooth. Okay.
Sanay
Um,
na.
kind of like with your university and your DSC, um, DSC like last year, especially with Trophy, like your batch, that was kind of where Flutter really started, and something I'm very thankful of, like going to the school that I go to, CPUA, is that our teachers are very progressive. So DSC started for Trophy around September, and by the second sem, we were learning Dart, like academic, and we were using it in projects, like academic projects, and so that's for software engineering. But even then, some people in computer science are talking about using it for like their thesis. I'm not sure what the plural of that is, but okay, let's go with thesis. Uh, but yeah, some people in CS are using it as well, and even now, um, the sophomore batch, my batch at school right now, we're working on kind of like our final projects, and 2 out of 3 groups are using Flutter. So yeah, like that's it, as well as the freshmen, because the freshmen
Wow.
also have kind of like an engineering design project at the end of their freshman year. So quite a lot of them are using Flutter. We don't really have Android programming, iOS and stuff. So I'm really grateful for both DSE and for my teachers for kind of like pushing Flutter forward. The DSEs have also helped, like especially there have been a lot of events and opportunities to connect and just learn more aside from like reading documentation or playing around with the apps. Like last year where all 3 of you sorry, Kuya Z, but like aside from Kuya Z, like
Yeah.
Yon, you guys were speakers. Sorry. But yeah, aside
It's
kay Kuya
okay.
Z, the three of you were speakers, and a lot of people got back to us about that, and even my group were using things that we learned from that. So yeah, I guess Flutter is going to the moon essentially.
All right, like well, well,
You get the
well,
reference. You get the
oh
reference.
yeah,
So,
yeah. But yeah, it's segue. It's good. It's a good time to buy crypto now. Joke. Yeah, they're going deep, deep, deep. All right. Thanks, Harvey and Nix, no, for sharing your stories. Like like with the global DSC challenge, like in the community or the core team share their expertise and like time to these communities. Like I think we've had more than 12 or 14 sessions now for the DSC talk. So it's a lot. But hopefully like we've shared something meaningful with everyone. And yeah, like I think we can answer a few questions, then we can conclude the discussion. So let me, I think there are a lot of discussions out there. Like, I think I've seen, I think I can see John and people talking in the chat. So let me pick, I think we can pick the most recent one. And yeah, okay, this is something interesting. So do you guys have any opinionated feeling? What will be? I don't want
Go
to give facts, but yeah, like, do you have any?
facts. But going with this trend of things, no, I think it's like Flutter really is going to monopolize the multi-platform experience because they're essentially like building desktop apps, Windows, Mac OS,
mhm,
Linux.
yeah.
You can deploy for Fuchsia. I think that's possible right now on their beta channel or something. And then we have all the mobile application, then web, and you can actually deploy it as a progressive web app also. So Flutter for
Yep.
everything.
Yeah, and the way I would like to look at this question is, coming from a, both from developer and investor perspective. So the way I do investing is value investing. At some of the things that I invest in. So the way I look at it is Flutter is as part of the technology that revolves around us is one of the many toolkits that you can use. So like learning how to build apps using Flutter, you'll also learn how to build apps for iOS or Android because like you'll know how the integration works. So I think it's an investment, really. Like on top of
Mhm,
learning Flutter, you'll learn how to deal with these native devices like web and mobile devices. So I think even though although this is really likely impossible in 5 years that there will be a down or decreased number, a few numbers of users using Flutter, but this is really likely impossible. But imagining the worst edge case, at least you still have something learned, on top of using Flutter. So at least you can jump to other technologies few years. But again, answering the question, I see Flutter being used on multiple platforms like desktop, web, and and even on the upcoming OS, like Zonily mentioned, the Fuchsia OS, which is currently out for some devices. So really
Yeah.
exciting future for Flutter. Okay, good point on Zonily Health. Okay, we have another. I thought that was the recent question. I think we have this one. Okay, I can read it out for you guys. I don't know my questions related to the current topic, but I just want to ask how to integrate a design system using Flutter. Just curious about the transition from native. And yeah, like I think this is a very straightforward. Like material comes right out of the box from Flutter. I'm curious if you
First
guys
class
have any
citizen.
um, anything to add. Like
Yeah, it's
maybe.
it's it's the first class citizen. So essentially,
mhm,
every tutorial you find out there, it most probably will be using material design because
yeah.
yeah, that's what they made it with.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And also,
that's
like, I will be sharing this code lab. So this is a code lab is specific for material and Flutter. So this is a good start if you're
Mhm,
interested in learning how to import components or and eventually style them. Flutter right out of the box supports material and Cupertino, right? But
Yeah.
on top of it, like it provides parameters for you to be able to stylize or theme data for you to be able to style
mhm,
your app based on your branding, which is great. Something that is really difficult for me to do on native before, because I have to edit a lot of files like XMLs, the value for colors, the value for fonts. But in Flutter now, that I could just simply edit that in a custom theme file or in the main file itself. If you're really lazy, you can just put them inside
Yeah.
the main.dart file.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, this
I think
is
for yeah.
okay.
Well,
We have another question. Is Flutter the best framework? Next, Harvey, do you want to?
well,
Is the best.
Answer yes.
Okay.
Although that's subjective. Short answer, yes, but long answer, it's subjective. For me, it's the one that I preferred. For other people, the answer may not be the same.
Hmm.
All right. Maybe Harvey.
Um, I'll answer it in a practical sense. Flutter's my go-to mobile framework, right? But on another practical sense, it also depends. For example, if the company that, or at least the tech stack of the organization that you're gonna go into, is gonna be like a different style. Like for example, I entered this org where they're in the JS stack, so their go-to is React Native, right? But my go-to right now, like for solo project, is Flutter. Yeah, for mobile. I think that already summarize that it's my go-to. Yeah.
All right. I'm not sure if there are any more questions. Like we have a lot of sources for live stream. So, but yeah, thanks for Harvey for sharing your answers. We have a lot of sources. Really. Like, all right. Not sure if you guys seeing any. Like I'm currently on YouTube. All right, we have new questions from YouTube. So, is your dev team that uses Flutter? What are their specific roles? Okay, I think this might be, like Z. You can probably give us some light on this one.
Uh,
Like, we also have some insights, but maybe like in terms of like the teams here in the country.
let's go
Mm-hmm.
well,
Team Stratpoint.
the only thing I can say is that a majority of the developers in Stratpoint can now use Flutter,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a large team. We are a company of 100 people. I don't know if I can say how much, so I'm just gonna say cryptic stuff that can point to something. But anyway, so what are their specific roles? So they're basically the ones, just the normal developer who are like, you could see that, what do you call this, jack of all trades. So that's what we are trying to reach. So everyone can do almost everything, where some of them specialize in something. For example, me, I specialize in CI/CD and architecture, stuff like that. I'm not really good with UI. Another developer is really good with UI, so he or she can focus on animations and stuff, or like creating responsive things out of the bag. But yeah, with Flutter, it's pretty much you're already a jack of all trades, because when you're developing with Flutter, you're developing for all screens easily. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to give your insights or Johnny on this one, and after this we can probably wrap up. Well, I think there are two more questions, but yeah, your thoughts, Sir Johnny. Uh,
Well, yeah. I mean, my previous job, I think we were like 3 people. So we are a group of Flutter developers, and we all share one code base, and we kind of help each other, teach each other, mentor each other. Yeah. I don't know if that's the thing. But yeah, I mean, it's it's yeah, Flutter. Yeah, once you know Flutter, it's easy to create. I mean, as Z mentioned, you can do a lot with it. So I can assign stuff to my other teammates to work on, and I'll work on the foundations and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah,
okay.
The the line
Okay.
between roles eventually becomes blurry.
yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys, for sharing. At least from my previous experience, we have separate roles for iOS and Android. Although, like for the Flutter team, like we kind of like it's kind of like a POC at the time. So one coming from Android, one coming from iOS, which is a good match. Like someone will have to fix for the native for issues for Android, other one for iOS. But yeah, it really depends on the product that you're building. If you really want someone who's specialized in web, then it makes sense for someone a company to hire someone who has more experience in web, like Sir Johnny, and eventually just learn Flutter along the way, which is pretty much straightforward anyway. If you're trying to like skill up your team. Okay, I guess that's pretty much it. Like I think we've been here for an hour and a half, so thank you all for your time. It's been a while. Like, miss you guys, but like we have to end this. And
Yeah, we
yeah,
can
like
do this again.
all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, like, do you have any final words for the community? But yeah, at least for me, like, thank you all guys for coming, and see you all on the next one. So, yeah, I'll leave you the stage to say any final words for the
Yeah,
community.
keep learning.
Thank
Never
you.
stop
Thank you,
learning. Bye, guys.
guys. Yeah. Never
Thank
stop
you.
learning.
Yeah, just
Just like
subscribe below
Like,
and
subscribe.
subscribe here.
I don't know
All
where the
right.
and
button is.
and join Flutter PH.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks, Harvey. All right. See you guys next time, and yeah,
Bye.
keep learning. Bye bye.
All right.